Hello there, welcome to another live session here at Genesis Models, which if you was here last week, you would know that we are doing the Mig-15. Sorry, I said Mig-25 last time, I got myself muddled up. But yeah, we're doing the Mig-15, 1/72nd scale. It's by Edard. It's a fairly nice new tool, absolutely lovely surface detail. As always, feel free to get onto the chat. Get whatever questions or answers you want, questioning or answering, whatever build you're doing, any sort of advice, and I'll do my best to show you here live at Genesis Mold. Also, another note to let you know about, I have just finished filming a vlog for the winners of the Diorama Group Build 2018. So that video will hopefully be going up tomorrow, announcing who's won first, second, and third. And also to bring us into group build, we've just started a brand new group build, if you don't already know, which is 1/72nd scale. So anything 1/72nd scale, you just go off and build it on the Genesis Models forum, put in your final reveal photos when it's done. You've got until the 30th of June 2019 to get it finished. So it's a long, you've got a nice amount of time to build the 1/72nd scale, and I'll be announcing the winners for that, and you can have a chance of winning a trophy. We do have, like in the other rooms, like a big plaque, which is the Top Gun trophy, where the first place gets their name on there, and it's a nice little way of just showing all the top guns of each group build, which is rather nice to look at. So just checking any questions. No, we haven't got any in yet, but hi to everyone who is texting in there. So jumping into the Mig-15. Right, so let's change the camera angle. Right then, last week we got up to, I'm going to probably have to bring you in, we got up to doing the whole cockpit thing, right? We did all that photo etch, we weathered it in, and basically I've just gone off camera and just finished it all off and brought it all together, which hopefully you're liking that. And just as a comparison, I do have another F15 that I'm building here. You might be able to see the difference in photo etch, because I mean the display panel, you can just see there. In this one it's just a decal, whereas it's photo etch in here, and you can hopefully see the nice difference. You got the photo etch seat belts and stuff, all sort of makes quite a big difference. But as you saw last week, its photo etch is a bit more intermediate and advanced. It's quite fiddly, it's a bit of a pain, but as you can see, it does pay off rather nicely. So let's just bring you back out a bit. There we go. Right then, so moving along, I've already sort of cut these off the sprue and stuff. We're in that process of bringing these together, but before we do that, we should sort of quickly spray inside here. So I'm just going to very quickly do that. I'm just going to quickly shake up the color we've been using, which is medium sea gray 049, which is Vallejo model air. Give it a good shake. Now, because it's just a quick bit, what I like about Vallejo is, for little bits you can get away with not actually thinning it. Actually, got stuck in there. I mean, if you're doing something a bit big, you're going to want to thin it down. There we go, top's back on. Just screw it on and off, and eventually that goes back on. So we just quickly blast a bit in there, and we can just very quickly, I need to turn the air pressure down because I had it way up for some other spraying today. Right, so very quickly in here, you're not really going to see this, but I'm just like covering my bases and getting it sprayed anyway. There you go, that's all it really needs. Right, I mean, you could go off and weather it and stuff, but I'll show you in a sec. Yeah. I mean, you can't really sort of see underneath there very much, as you can see for the one I've already done. Right, so let's just clean this airbrush out, which I've got this. This is quite cool. I think it was around about £10. I think you can still buy them. You just kind of put your airbrush in there, blast in whatever is left in the colour cup. Notice the change in sound. It sort of has this bit of a gurgle sort of thing going on. That just means it's empty. So getting out the old home-brewed airbrush cleaner, I'm going to pour some of this in here. Right, and you definitely want to clean your airbrush after going neat with Vallejo, because it's a little bit thickish, which means you have to clean it a bit more, because it will take a little bit more cleaning. So I'm just doing the old press down for air, pull back, get a little bit of a gurgle. Not so much it splutters out into your face and everything, just enough to gurgle that up a bit. Turn it upside down, coming out the colour cup end, so we ain't kind of blasting out the needle end, because it's a very small needle and it might take a bit just to get that out. Right, let's do another quick blast of the airbrush cleaner, gurgle that up and repeat the process. There we go. Nice to see some people from the US, as I can see from the comments. Someone's asking, oh, this kit in particular is a Royal Class edition. It's the one that had 4 in there. It had loads of lovely photo etch and stuff like that. There is an inbox review of that kit on the Genessis Models website under videos stroke inbox reviews. I think that's going to need another blast. But yeah, you get like 4 kits, so you can really sort of make quite a few, and in some ways it, you know, kind of looks cool having them all lined up. And you get loads and loads of markings with that kit as well. So that's all sort of cleaned off. So now we can get on with gluing this together. Right, so where did the cockpit go? So as you can see, I've already glued in our engine section just here, and we can probably glue this in next. Ooh, got it upside down. That's not going to help, is it? Right, so let's get this glued in. Remember, if you just arrived, feel free to ask any questions you want. Just comment in the comment sections. That feels really nicely in place there. Alright, so using Tamiox thin cement, I'm using their sort of new quick setting one. It's basically like the normal Tamiox thin cement, apart from it sets a lot quicker, which can be nice in a lot of situations really. And I'm just going to run it along the lines. As you can see, you know, with these glues, you don't sort of put the glue on and then bring it together. You bring it together and then you let the thinness of the glue, which is really nice and thin, actually like have a capillary action to like suck in, and it just sucks in between all the little joins and brings it together nicely. Right then, with that glued into place, this is where, if you do this properly, you can save yourself a lot of heartache. If we glue these as perfect as possible, it will potentially save us all sorts of filling, sanding, scribing, the whole work. So you want to sort of, where the join line is, just press it down and just see how is that fitting. Are we gonna have any issues with the way it's fitting by just a little squeeze, bringing it together, seeing how that comes together? And that looks good. It doesn't look like there's nothing that's going to sort of push the plastic apart and leave a gap, like if you've ever cut the tabs off and it might leave a little bit on that lip that pushes the plastic. Right, you want to be careful of them. So that's looking all good. So this is where, you know, good old pegs. Right, just nick them off the wife, she won't mind, trust me. Right, and what we're going to do is do this literally kind of like section by section. So I'm starting off with the nose just here. So I want to pinch it in. Right, maybe try it that side. No, that side's good. Right, pinch it in so it closes the gap, right? But you don't just want to close the gap. You want to sort of look and feel, you know, have we got any steps, you know? Because having a step is just as bad as having a gap in some cases. Right, so I'm just playing with this, making sure there's no step. And then we can run a little bit of glue just down this line just here. Right, and then what's going to happen is the way this Mig-15 cement glues is it doesn't sort of bond it, it melts the two pieces of plastic, so they basically become one, which is what you want. And then we can start moving. Oh, I almost forgot. We've got a bit of a tail section here, so good job I didn't glue this in first. Probably got enough to sort of play around and maybe just part this a little bit. Right, and just slide this in like so. Push that back down. We might be able to have that in a movable position maybe, or maybe not. Okay, so we got this join here again. Let's get these pegs in to bring it together. Right, and I'm finding this one is a little bit sort of quite easy to get a step in the plastic, which you don't want. So I'm just trying to adjust and play around with this so we don't. Check the underside as well. Maybe let's get a peg in there before we start gluing. Just bring these together. In fact, it almost seems like the pressure we're putting on the top is leaving a gap on the underside, so we might just play around with the top, right? Because what we've got to watch out for is a potential seesaw action. What I mean by a seesaw action is we've closed the gap on the top, but on the underside you can see that we've got a gap going on here. But if I sort of like try and press it down with a peg, it's not really having it that much, right? So what we could do is glue the top, let that dry, and then we can remove the pegs and like squeeze the bottom together. Right, but if we don't let the glue dry, it's just going to have a seesaw motion where the glue gets poured out and stuff. And I'm just going to do a tail area, running that along there, get the pegs in there, squeeze them down, and right at the tip just here as well. So what I like about this glue, just really just nicely flows in between all your joints. And again, I'm just checking for those steps because it just feels like I'm getting steps with this. It's like it's slightly out, but if you can get it just right and play around with it, it'll save you a lot of hassle. Sorry if you're going off camera a bit. Right. And then we'll do what we can do on the underside. I think we can sort of get away with doing the back here. Whee. Careful, the pegs don't fly off. Right, I think we could do this back bit here because it is closed. Right, let's get a peg in there and take care of them steps. I think coming in at this angle is getting rid of them steps. Let's just get a bit of glue in our engine section just there as well. Don't forget the little join that we've got going on just under here. Right, there we go. Then we've got this bit. If I push it with my fingers, I think we're okay. Let's get out another peg. See if we can try that again. The peg's not really having it. I'd like to glue it now, to be fair. Bit of pain with the peg flying off would persist. Okay, maybe I'll try pressing it in. Maybe it'll bite enough for me to then get a peg on and the peg will be fine. But yeah, just run that along. Maybe just get in there as well. Give it a bit more strength. And hopefully the peg will hold a bit better now. There we go. Just needed a little bit of help. Still feeling a bit of a step. These steps aren't too good. It seems almost like this kit's one of these kits where no matter how much you try, you're going to have a step. So there might be something going on with the actual mould or kit issue-ish in a way, but it really doesn't want to play very nice. And the last bit of gluing just underneath here. There we go. Let's put this peg back in. Double check. Make sure nothing's come out of place before we put this down and let it dry for a bit. And we should be able to play around with that fairly soon-ish. There goes another peg. Okay, leave that for a second. Let's bring you out a little bit more as well. I'm just going to see if there's any questions we got. There's quite a few while I was doing that. Right then, got a question from Sebastian about filling, which is sort of almost what we're going to be jumping into in a bit. So I will get to that question shortly. Another question from GGJM on about the airbrush clean, I do believe, the IPA mix to clean using ammonia. Can you use, what was it? What about to add some acetone? Acetone, well, acetone is kind of, I've got some here. I mean, you know, we've got like the good old nail polish, which is basically acetone. Acetone is more an enamel based sort of cleaner, which sort of can work, but it's more like, I mean, this would probably be good for stuff like your enamel based natural metal finishes, like these extreme metal ones and stuff. But this is more, you know, with the IPA's, you know, kind of water based like alcohol, and the ammonia, it can be mixed with water nicely. So it's good for like acrylic paints, because acrylic paints are water based, which is the whole point of using ammonia. I think what he's also saying is the smells a bit too much with the ammonia. If you don't like using the ammonia, you can use Windex. Windex has got a bit of ammonia in there, and it's a bit hard to sort of smell it when you spray it. At the same time, you could also just get away with using a little bit of ammonia. It's just kind of quantity really. But really, yeah, I mean, acetone is sort of more for enamels, maybe acrylics, that kind of stuff. So moving along with this, a little bit more gluing. One thing you want to sort of check, which I mentioned earlier, is bring you in. Right, is I've cut these off the sprue, I've tidied up the sprue bit, but you may notice if you look, you can get gaps because there's a little bit of the plastic still left over on the surface just there. Right, so if we just part this, right, what you need to do is get out a little sanding stick. Right, nice and coarse, there's no point messing about with this. Right, and what you basically need to do is just sand these down just to make sure, you know, there's nothing sticking up that's going to stop you from gluing it together nicely. Right, and coming in with nice and coarse, it just sands it down a lot quicker. Helps it grip a lot better as well because the surface is no longer smooth, it's nice and rough. You just want to make sure you get all these little tabs that may be sticking up, stopping it from gluing together. And you want to make sure also that you do both sides as well, which is what I'm just doing here. Nice and quickly, nice and easy. You can have ejector pin marks also protruding, that would also cause the same problem as well. And then, of course, you want to then test fit again and see how that then fits. And what you should hopefully notice is those gaps will disappear. Right, so just press them down. If they're not quite disappeared, like this one is a little bit, still needs a little bit more just on this leading edge. Right, so just going to sand this down just a tad bit more just to get it right. Thank you for all the welcome comments on the chat. Good to see you all too, especially from all over the world, which is rather nice. Seeing people from Germany, US. Let's just test fit this as well, and that's looking a lot better. Right, so what we're going to do here is we're going to glue this again with the Tamiya thin cement, but what you want to do is with these long leading edges in the wing sections and stuff, you need to be careful. We don't really want to be coming in and gluing it like this, because if we accidentally have a blob, right, this Tamiya thin cement will then kind of roll down the wing, go under your thumb, and you can have nasty thumbprint. So 90-degree angle, get gravity on your side. Right, so if you do have a blob, right, it's just going to run down your join line where you want the glue to be anyway. It's not going to go into your thumb or anything like that. Right, you're just going to get it glued just where you want it. Right, and then we need to get some more pegs, which, as you can see, the missus probably isn't happy with me because I've got loads of her pegs. And we want to work these around, glue it around. There we go. Press that down. I find it does help sometimes to just also just go around and just like press it all the way around, because once it sort of gets a bite, it normally sort of holds, and then we can leave one of them in place. And then also don't forget inside these wheel wells as well. Right, there's little joins inside there, and then we've got just up here, and then we can run it down here. You want to sort of be careful when running it down here, because running it down here, sorry, off camera a bit, because it is on the surface, and you can quite easily it can quite easily start looking a bit funny if you don't sort of take your time and be careful with it. Right, so again, let's have a quick double check, just see if all our joins are looking good. Maybe just a little bit of glue just here, and then maybe a little bit of a press down, because I'm seeing like a little bit of a gap. And if I can take care of this now, then I don't have to fill and sand it. But yeah, there we go. That is done. So we're just going to put this to one side. Let's move you out a bit. Alright. So the next thing we've got here, I've got a wing I've already done earlier, and there is a bit of a gap-ish problem just on here. Try and bring you in. You might just be able to see just there, a bit of a gap problem. So this is where we come into like the fillers. There's a range of fillers. We do have. I've got all sorts. I mean, pretty much, you know, a filler's a filler, but we've got green putty here. This is sort of a nice thick-ish one. Good for getting sort of big-ish gaps. We've got the good old Plasto by Revell. This one is almost like, how to explain it? It's like a filler, but a filler that has, here it is. Do you remember the old type poly cement glue? It's sort of like, almost like it's mixed in with that, because it does almost like melt plastic while it's filling. Don't normally use that one. Got plastic putty. This is sort of good for certain areas. I won't be using this at the moment. But yeah, it's mainly that. We do have like the Mr. Surfacer stuff. This is also some good stuff, but I kind of do this after I've like used, say, green putty. Let's see if green putty solves the problem. If that doesn't, we kind of then need to go to like a thinner type filler, because this is a little bit on the thick side. Right, so let's open this up. Let's get out a pipette, sorry, spatula. I do have a particular spatula. Right, so we're just gonna get a bit of this out. Right, and then where we've got our little gap, we want to try and sort of paste it just on where the gap is. Right, but we also want to try and push it down and into it. But we want to try and keep it where the gap is and the gap only, because we don't want to be, you know, getting all into our recesses and stuff. Right, because then we're going to have to scribe it out of there. I'm seeing just a little bit maybe up top here. I'm trying to press it down and work that in. Alright, now these fillers, you kind of want to be a bit careful and not get too carried away or too excited and sort of put it down. Oh, it feels touch dry. Let's get out the sanding sticks and let's just blast away at this. Right, fillers, they can take a long time to dry, and if you're not careful, what you can potentially end up doing is you'll sand it away and it might look kind of good, but then a couple of days later you'll notice, oh no, I've got my my join lines come back. It's, you know, that basically the filler has shrunk somewhat. And your join line has then come back. Right, so you do want to make sure you give it probably a good 24 hours to dry. Right, so I'm quite happy with that all filled around. Right, so let's put the lid on. In fact, while I'm at this, nice little product, pretty much any hardware store, cellulose thinners, really good sort of nice strong product. Right, I find it sort of works really well with the green putty. I'll just dip my spatula in here, right, and we can just clean our toys, our tools. I suppose they are toys in a way. Up really nice and clean, ready for next time. What I also like to do is, what potentially happens is these do dry up. It's normally around about the lid area, so I just like to dip in, and just that little bit of a blob that's on the end of the spatula there just sort of keeps that nice and sort of liquid, and stops them from drying up so quickly. It just keeps them nice and moist there. So let's put that away. I'll have to probably clean my spatula a little bit again. There we go. Let's bring you out. Just going to check any questions and answers. Please get them in. Just tidy this away a little bit. Have a drink. Oh, got someone from France as well. That's rather nice. Oh, someone's asking about cellulose thinners in the States. I'm not quite sure what that would be, but I'm sure if you did like a Google search for cellulose thinners equivalent in the United States, I'm sure you'd probably get some sort of result from that search if you want to try that. So where are we now? We're pretty much coming to a bit of a point where we are just like waiting for stuff to dry. This has been on here 15 minutes, so hopefully if I remove these pegs, this should be okay. As I say, I could be using the quick setting version of the Mig-15 cement, and it doesn't look like it's parting or anything like that. I'm not seeing any major gaps also, so not too bad indeed. But what we could do is, I don't know if you can see that very well, just here, that's where we've had a tab and we've cut it off the sprue. And what can tend to happen is maybe you just like shave off a little bit too much, or maybe if you sand your tabs off, sand it a little bit too much, and just there it leaves like that tiniest little bit of a dip, and we might want to take care of them also. So for this, I'm just going to bring out the actually, shall we not? No, we will use the plastic putty. I normally use that for something else really. Let's get out. Where's it gone? Oh, it wasn't here somewhere. Where you gone? It's supposed to be in here. Maybe I've run out. No, here it is. Got it. Some of our Mr. Surface. I'm going to be using the 1000 stuff. Right. This is more for those really sort of shallow, light gaps or blemishes or something. You want to give it a good shake. Right. These are a bit old, so they might need a bit of a rehydrating, but I can show you that on camera now. Right, and we might have to pry this, because as you can see, I mean, they just get so messy. All this just gets absolutely everywhere, and then you have to, as you can see, just pry it open, because they do dry up a little bit. And this one is, as you can see, almost empty. I'll have to put in my list of shopping stuff to get, and then we're going to get out a crappy old paintbrush. Any old paintbrush will do. Right, and as you can see, it's like a thick paint. Right, let's get some of that off. We don't need all that. Right, and as I say, just under here we can just, hold on, I'm getting cobwebs coming off this. We can just sort of lightly paint it on where that little problem area is, and actually may as well whack one there, because that's where a tab was also. And if we just flip this over, think, yeah, there it is. Sorry, you on camera? There it is. There's another one just there. Now with this stuff, you know, give it a bit of time. It'll be a bit touch dry. You can come along. You could whack on another coat if you wanted to, right? It does also thin down very well with, again, cellulose thinners. I'll have to find out what the US equivalent is for you guys. Right, so you can thin it down. You can also buy thinner versions, right? The 1200 is thinner. This number basically means it goes from what, 500, which is quite thick, and then you've just seen the 1000, 1200. It then goes to 1500, and it just gets thinner and thinner and thinner. But get some cellulose thinners, save yourself some money, just buy the 500, and cellulose thinners just thins it nicely itself. Right, hopefully as you can see, I'm just dipping that in some cellulose off camera, right, and it just makes it go a lot thinner. And what you can do, right, if you want to, is after putting that down, as I say, it does dry fairly quick, we can come back and then paint on this, you know, homemade thinner version. Right, and it just builds up these layers where the thicker one's going to get into the gap and fill it mainly, and then you go thinner and thinner and thinner, and it just nicely sort of slowly gets rid of it all rather nicely. But then you're going to want to leave that to dry. Then we need to put these lids on because it does dry up pretty easily, as you can see from around the lid. Right, and then your paintbrushes. I know these are old crappy paintbrushes that I use, but it will sort of destroy your paintbrush completely if you don't sort of clean them up. So again, cellulose thinners is a good one for this. So I'm just going to just dip that in there, right, and it will just clean it up pretty quick and pronto. Right, there we go. Just dip that in twice, and as you can see, it's mess free. So that is doing a bit of filling. I will show you some more filling, probably not this week I don't think, but the plastic putty, I really do like using this plastic putty for certain situations. Right, so that's now drying, so we could probably bring in a wing section here. Right, we ain't really gonna have time to do any sanding because we do need to let this dry. If we started sanding at this now, as I say, Tamiox thin cement, it melts the two plastics together. So what is going on here is where this join line is, that plastic there is going to be a bit soft. So if we start sanding now, it's going to sand away like gooey glue. Which is not what we want. So we do need it to dry. We need the filler to dry because, as I say, you know, you could come back 24 hours later, it's completely dried, gone rock hard, cured to the bone, and it shrinks. And as it shrinks, it'll recreate your gap or dip or whatever you've got going on. So what we could still do is potentially we could glue on our wing section, right, which I do believe that will go in here, although it should. Yeah, it's a bit of a tight squeeze actually. Might have to drill this. This hole here doesn't seem to want to play, so I'm going to make that a little tiny bit bigger. We could get out drill bits, but you can always get your blade using the point and almost turn your blade into a bit of a drill bit. So hopefully that's going to want to go in a bit better. No, we need to go a bit deeper, I think. Try and bear in mind where you've done all your filling, because the amount of times I've accidentally pressed on some filler and then it's on my finger, and then I press somewhere else on the model and then you've got filler everywhere. God, this really is getting tough to press into here. Maybe we need to maybe scrape this off, make it just slightly thinner. Not really saying much for Edard's fitting at the moment. I mean, the surface detail is pretty nice there. Got to give them that. Especially that, you ever seen from Edard the Spitfire? That is absolutely amazing. The 1/72 scale, really nice kit that is. So let's try this. Right, it's not really wanting to play ball. I don't like that. So let's maybe play around with sort of trying to dig this out a little bit. I'm just sort of, you know, you only need to sort of, you know, just shave it that little bit. I mean, it's not exactly as if it's a really bad fit. It just needs that little bit of help. Right, we don't want to totally sort of deform the shapes or anything like that. We'll just give it that little bit and a little bit more at this hole. And let's test fit again. Always best to test fit. And that's starting to go in a little bit, but still we're not getting what we want here. So maybe I'm going to come in with a sanding stick on this one. Quick looking at the, here we go. Someone's done a search on the cellulose thinners. Turpentine thinner is one of them. Got old school car paint thinner is another one. You know, it's basically just some really nice strong stuff. I think it's like for lacquer paints, really, this stuff is, I think. But anyway, you've got turpentine thinners in the US. So thank you for Mark for that. And then I think it's Diomax who also did a search for old school paint thinners. So it smells about the same, put it that way. It's also good for cleaning out your airbrush as well. I love using that for airbrush. It just breaks down pretty much any paint, even like water-based paints as well. Right, and let's try fitting this now. Okay, that's close enough. All right, so what we can do, I mean, it's not perfect, but what tends to happen is, as I say, this Tamiox Twin cement, what it does is it melts the plastic. So what I'm gonna go for here, just to make sure we get it in, so if we put a bit of the Tamiox Thin cement in these areas, right, it's going to melt the plastic and it should probably just pop in, just nicely slide in now, because the plastic's melted and it should go in a bit better. Bit of a push. Okay, I'm not liking that. I'm not liking that at all. So I'm just getting it out before we make a mess. Alright, and that hasn't worked very well. So I'm going to keep on going at cutting inside here. It's kind of strange really, because I didn't have this problem with this one I did. But you'll find that if you get like the Royal pack, it's got lots of different types of fuselage sections, lots of different types of wing sections for like the different Mig-15s. So maybe that's why this one's playing up and the other one didn't. Maybe there's something in the fact that the instructions ask you for different types of wings and different types of fuselage. I mean, they're all very much the same. There's just some very subtle differences in them. Let's dig this out a bit more as well. Right, quick test fit. Check the underside. Yeah. Still not 100% liking it. See, it's better to just test fit and not go for that final glue it in. I feel like this might need a bit of a sand in there. Here we go. That feels and looks a lot better now. Right then, so now I'm going to get the glue in here again. Right, I'm going to bring this together. Right, and I'm going to run some glue just down there. Right, and you want to be sort of careful. I want to now, I'm sort of looking down this and just making sure that we've got a nice 90-degree angle going on. Looking good. Let's get some glue on the underside, like so. Again, I'm looking straight down, making sure we've got a good angle on the wing and it's not off or anything like that. Nice 90-degree. And then what I'd probably do, that's not quite in place there. Let's move that a little bit. Don't really want to be messing around that much. Once you've glued something in position, if you mess about too much, you can have glue oozing out and stuff. But if you have to, you have to. But yeah, okay, that's nicely in position. It's holding itself quite nicely, but just in case, I'm going to leave it in a nice position in which it's sitting upright like this, not down like that, because I mean the wing could still droop down and glue in place. So just check it's in a nice position, and then I'm just going to lay it on my desk with whatever I can find so it lays up in a 90-degree angle-ish. There we go. So we'll leave that to dry, and I think really, you know, we've come to a point where we just need to let stuff nicely dry, which means next week I'll get like the wings on and a few other things glued on and whatnot. We'll probably be touching into doing some sanding, which will potentially move along into stuff like doing some scribing also. Potentially using some plastic putty as well, probably most likely using some plastic putty. Got a few other things as well, so you know, probably like sanding and scribing will probably be happening next week. So quickly get in any questions you can. I'm just going to have a quick read. Okay, and then that looks like to be it for tonight. So let's just change the camera angle. There we go. Right then, so no more questions and answers by the looks of it. So hopefully you've enjoyed tonight. And oh, actually, we won't be here next week. Next week I've got a little bitty operation on the Friday, so there won't be a live session next week, sadly. But the next one, as I say, will be scribing, which I know a lot of you don't like. I don't like personally. It is a bit of a pain. The way I taught myself was to deliberately go out and buy a raised panel line model and turn it into a recessed panel line model. You do that once and you're pretty much sorted in doing scribing and stuff pretty much. That's my tip here. Just jump straight in, do one model, and you should be away. But I'll show you a bunch of that stuff just to sort of let you know, for those of you who didn't arrive at the beginning, remember we have just finished the group build for the diorama group build. I've done a vlog for that. That'll be going up soon, showing who's the winner. We've also got the new group build that started. It's starting now. It's 1/72 scale. Anything 1/72 scale, jump right in and go to the Genessis Models forum. On the forum, you'll be able to sort of create your own build thread, where you build your model, create your own final reveal thread, where I then get to judge it, which will be when it finishes, which is the 30th of June 2019. Mark's just quickly asking, yeah, it's every Friday at 6 o'clock when we start the live sessions, apart from next week, as I've already said. Also, we have been working on the F-18. These videos are on the Genessis Models website if you want to go check them out. The videos you haven't seen up to this point yet, where I've sprayed it, we've got bleaching, post shading. I did some other weathering to represent the crew going around with an aerosol cannon, like spraying up any chips and stuff. Some nice cool techniques. So we'll be seeing a bit more of that next week also, and I've got a shipment of new kits coming in, so we'll have some probably some inbox views and all that cool stuff. So if that is it for tonight, which I do believe it is, sadly we have come to the end of our live session, but until next time, my name is Bob Ward and this is Genessis Models, and I hope you've enjoyed.